Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahar. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who have taught us this word and teach us this word today. And I want to give a salutation unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is the buddy Yatazakba with the GMS Nebraska camp. This is GMS Endeavor. And in this lesson, I want to go over the concept of preventive maintenance. And this stems from something that was said to me by the elder brother Mathatya from the Des Moines camp. And he said something. He said that we need not to be reactive, but to be proactive. And what I understood from that is, in this truth or in this walk, in general, we have to be on top of things before we need to be on top of things, if that makes sense. Having the solution for a problem, working on things, fixing things in ourselves before there comes need a time to have to work on that thing. Because if you are a reactive person, a problem needs to be presented to you before you fix it, or it has to be pointed out, or consequences from not being prepared has to be brought before you're like, okay, I need to work on this. But being proactive is already having those cracks sealed before the problem even arises. And that made me think of the term preventive maintenance. And when you go into the definition, it says preventive maintenance, sometimes called preventative maintenance, is a proactive, there's that word, a proactive approach to ensuring that equipment and facilities run smoothly, avoiding the high cost and disruptions of unplanned breakdowns. Let's go to, let me see, there was one of these that I wanted to grab. Is it this one? Yep. The primary goal of preventive maintenance is to prevent equipment failure before it occurs. This is done by regularly servicing and inspecting equipment. And so, applying this term of preventive maintenance to ourselves. For example, the first thing that came to mind when putting this lesson together is, being on the highways, being in this truth, or, teaching the gospel. You will have people that come up that will have, a question, or that won't know certain things. And, we read 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. It says, but sanctify the Lord Yahweh in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks you a reason of the hope which is in you, that is in you, with meekness and fear. And this isn't the scripture, Salakia, because there's another scripture that says something around the lines of, always be ready to give an answer. But basically, if a person is to come up and ask you a question on the highways, people will have questions. People will, say certain things. And being proactive, as the scriptures say, study to show thyself approved unto the Most High, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed. As a matter of fact, let me make sure I'm getting everything from that scripture. Is it 1 Timothy 2 and 15? Salakia. 2 Timothy 2 and 15. Yep. Yeah. Study to show thyself approved unto the Most High, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Now, being proactive in studying and gathering, the knowledge of these scriptures is making sure that you're covering all the bases. You're going into things that you don't know. You're going into things that you don't understand, or things that you might have the breakdown to, but you are revisiting the topic because you haven't gone into it in a while, and you are, refamiliarizing yourself with it so that it may be time to go into it again, and you already on it. You already got the breakdown. You already able to, to run off with it. And that's the proper preventive maintenance we should have, instead of being reactive to where a person may come up and you don't know how to answer them, and then you're like, man, I need to go into that. You see, it's two totally different situations. But what you have with preventive maintenance, because for example, you have factories, with their machines that have to push out certain numbers of product, and the machine, if you are applying preventive maintenance while you have downtime, or if you set aside time to work on the machine, you're working on it, putting new parts on it, cleaning the parts, making sure it runs correctly, doing certain things before the machine even breaks down, so that when the machine is running and it has to push out big numbers, it won't break down, because you've already done all the maintenance that needs to be done to it. Instead of, as other jobs, I can say, speaking from my own perspective, my job does not do preventive maintenance. My job is very reactive when it comes to the machines. At Something needs to break before it's being worked on, and which causes, numbers to not be pushed out at the rate they need to be pushed out, which causes us to be behind, which causes, setbacks at the end of the day. And instead of working on things while there's time for it, it causes like I mentioned before, setbacks. It causes you to be behind, and so this is just the first example I think of when it comes to, being prepared when it comes to handling this truth when being on the highways. But we're coming into a time where we're going to be in certain situations that we've never been in before. We're going to be in, in dire situations, coming into, the time of Jacob's trouble, coming into these last days. And the time to be prepared for the situations that we will be in those times, this is the training ground for it. This is the time to apply the preventive maintenance right now. As the scriptures say in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 1, it says, "Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them." Now, of course, we are remembering our Creator. We are remembering Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, serving Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai to the best of our ability, seeking, the ways of the Most High, walking in righteousness. But just because we have this truth, we can never go far enough. We know that evil days are coming. So right now, we are exercising the fruits of the Spirit. We are exercising denying ourselves, or we should be. Right now, we are making sure that we are praying daily and praying throughout the day, making sure that we are, applying scriptures in our walk. We have a routine of fasting. We are practicing these different things of denying ourselves, of being temperate, of being faithful, and these different things, so that when the time comes that it is dire that we have these qualities, we have already applied the preventive maintenance to ourselves so that we are prepared. But if we are being reactive, there will come a time to where, using the machine, for example, at work, when it's time to push those numbers out, the machine is breaking down, and you have to work on it right then and there, and you're not hitting the number that is supposed to be pushed out. You were supposed to, for example, I work at a dairy plant, and if you're supposed to push out 35,000 jugs of milk, you're only hitting 20,000 because you were down for 2 hours, trying to work on this machine. This is what we want to avoid coming into these last days. This is what we want to avoid when, the time comes where we won't be able to eat for a while. But we've practiced, having faith in the Lord in unsure situations, and trusting that we will be, taken care of when, before we've gotten to them dire situations. right now we're practicing, like I mentioned before, fasting, so that once the time comes, we can go without, you know. And so I want to grab first First Corinthians chapter 9 verse 24. So like, let me take a sip of this water. And before I grab this scripture, you know, because the scriptures say, you know, I want to make this point. The scriptures say, you know, our adversary, the devil, walketh about, you know, seeking whom he may devour, you know. And as a matter of fact, let me grab that to make sure hope I'm spelling that right. I'm not spelling that right at all. Yep. First Peter chapter 5 verse 8, it says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. So we got Satan out here that we have to combat against. We have demons that we have to combat against. And before we are in these spiritual battles, you know, that we have to lock in, and we're, you know, all the way in the fight, you know, while things are, you know, before it gets to that level, this is why we're already constantly praying. We're, you know, beseeching the Lord to, you know, grant us with spiritual gifts, to grant us with the fruits of the Spirit, that we may walk and abound, you know, in spiritual blessings. We're asking for these things now. You know, we're practicing these things now, so that when those different spiritual attacks come, we are equipped. You know, we are able to win those battles. So we're maintaining ourselves now, you know. And so that's why this scripture says to be vigilant. That goes into that preventive maintenance, because when you go into vigilance, Strong's G 1127, it says to watch, metaphor, give strict attention to, be cautious, active. You're being proactive. You are, you know, solving something before it needs solved. It says to take heed lest through remission and indolence some destructive calamities suddenly overtake one. And remission and indolence is basically being lazy. You're sitting back. You're not worrying about a certain thing. And it in that spirit of remission and indolence, you would need to be hit by the problem before you worry about the problem. And that's not the spirit that we should be in. So now we can go to this First Corinthians chapter 9. This is the last scripture I'll grab. So starting at verse 24, it says, know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that ye may obtain. And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. So this race that we're running is this walk in this truth. You know, we're striving for salvation. We're striving to be saved. You know, we're striving for, you know, to be found in the good graces of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And what the Apostle Paul is likening it to is a race. You know, you have everybody who was in this race that have, you know, trained and practiced and, you know, gotten to that point of being in a race, but only one person is going to win. Now, likening it to salvation, only the elect will make it up out of here. You know, many are called, but few are chosen. Now, it says that everyone that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now, we're striving for the mastery. Now, what is the mastery for us? You know, the mastery is really salvation. That's when we've won. That's when we've, you know, done everything, you know. But leading up unto salvation, there is always something that we can work on. There's always something that we could do better at. Now it says, and every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection. Now this is speaking about discipline. This is speaking about temperance, which this is a major part of preventive maintenance. Because to work on certain things and to, you know, to be proactive in this truth It takes a focused mind. It takes a disciplined mind. It takes a mind of, staying locked in before you need to be locked in. Really, we always need to be locked in this truth, but it's being, on point in the easy times before, you get to the time where you have to lock in. It's not taking your foot off the brake when you think that things are easy. It's when you're in a race and you're at the end and you can see the finish line and you're at the head of the pack, but you're not slowing down, because we've seen people lose races like that time and time again. And so while we are in these easy times, compared to the times that we're about to come into, this is the easy part. This is the time of preparation. We're gathering the oil right now. But it's going to come a time to where once we get into Jacob's trouble, once we get into this, these even, this crescendo of prophecy that we're about to come into, that's when all the preventive maintenance that we've done before, all the preparation that we've done before it will be put on display. It will be, right. All the work, all the practice we've done, that's when it's going to pay off. So it says, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. And so we are practicing this word, because this is really this word. These scriptures tell us the things that we have to work on, the things that we should be applying and, building onto ourselves to be properly equipped for the evil days, for the times to come. And it's not just knowing these scriptures, it's applying the scriptures. It is, as it says in James, Salaki, I know I said this is going to be the last scripture, but let's go to this. James chapter 1, verse 22. But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. We're doing the word and applying it, and not just hearing it. Because there's going to come a time, no one who receives salvation is just going to be able to hear the word and not have to put in any work. Faith without works is dead being alone. So there's going to come a time when you have to do. And so that's why we are doing the things that are required right now. We're practicing the things that we are going to have to apply, in the last days. We're practicing these things now before the times come where it's dire, So I could go on and on about it. Salaka for being repetitive, but Lord's will, this lesson was edifying. Let's be proactive. Let's be in a mind of prudence, circumspection, making sure we're good, and prepared for the times to come. Once again, giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Baharach HaKadosh, giving the honors to the apostles and elders of GMS, and salutation unto the elect. Shalom.